Why is Northern Ireland holding up Brexit? It's the smallest nation in the UK and the one with the fewest residents. But Northern Ireland has become one of the biggest parts of the Brexit negotiations. In fact, its border could end up deciding the future of the whole of Europe. So why is the Irish border question so important? After Brexit, the border between England, Scotland and Wales will stay exactly the same.
Hello.
Because, well, we're all on one island which doesn't border any EU countries. And because Northern Ireland is part of the UK, it'll leave the European Union too. But unlike England, Scotland and Wales, it shares a border with an EU country, the Republic of Ireland.
Hello.
So this 300-mile stretch will be the brand new external border of the European Union. And there lies the big problem. You see, they're worried about how you would go about checking the goods crossing in and out of the EU. So what are the options? Maybe you could just build some customs posts and fences along the border. But for a load of people, that is the last thing they want. Northern Ireland has had fences and checkpoints on the border before, and during that time, more than 3,600 people died in a 30-year conflict known as the Troubles. And the issue of the border was at the heart of this fighting over the sovereignty of Northern Ireland. There were fears that putting fences back up could lead to a return of the violence of the past. And like I said, nobody wants that. But negotiators, they're struggling to come up with a solution to make the border work. So why is it so hard? Well, first, we need to go back almost 100 years. This is the island of Ireland. It all used to be part of Britain into a bloody war of independence. Between 1919 and 1921, the Irish Republican Army and British security forces were at war. Then at the end of the conflict, Ireland was split up. The southern part became a separate country, but Northern Ireland stayed in the United Kingdom. But that wasn't the end of the argument. Nationalists and Republicans, mostly drawn from the Catholic community, wanted a united Ireland. Unionists and Loyalists, most of them Protestant, vowed to keep the province British. In the late 1960s, violence erupted. Republican and Loyalist paramilitaries fought each other, and British soldiers stationed in Northern Ireland clashed with Republicans. Finally, in 1998, there was a breakthrough peace deal, the Good Friday Agreement, and a drastic reduction in violence. In the years that followed, the British Army checkpoints were removed, and ID and custom checks disappeared. Now, the border is almost invisible. If you're really paying attention, you might notice the road signs changing from miles to kilometres. But that's just about it. Then Britain voted for Brexit. Theresa May made it clear that any exit deal we struck would mean leaving the EU's single market and customs union. That means the border will become the crossing point for goods entering the EU from outside. Now, that's really the core of the issue. EU negotiators say they want some kind of customs control. They want to stop products that don't meet EU standards, like unsafe food, crossing the border. Police in Northern Ireland say a hard border would become a target for dissident Republicans, hardline Irish nationalists who have vowed to carry on attacking symbols of British rule. The EU and the British and Irish government all agree that they don't want a hard border to return. But they can't agree on what to do about customs checks. There has been talk of some kind of high-tech solution that would mean lorries could cross the border without being stopped and checked, or checks could be done away from the border. This is actually what happens already to control cross-border trade in some goods, including fuel, alcohol and tobacco. But there's a danger that a proper deal can't be worked out in time. The EU has always said it wants a backstop, an agreement about what would happen if no detailed plan for Brexit is in place. Brussels thinks the answer is for Northern Ireland to stay in the customs union. That would effectively mean pushing the border back to here, the sea border between Northern Ireland and Great Britain. But it also means treating Northern Ireland differently to the rest of the United Kingdom. So now it's Unionists, not Republicans, who'd be angry. Theresa May's party is still officially called the Conservative and Unionist Party. The Tories are committed to Northern Ireland remaining part of the UK. And because the last general election didn't go as well as expected, the Prime Minister now relies on a Northern Irish Unionist Party, the DUP, to give her a majority in Parliament. So Northern Irish Unionists effectively have a veto on British government policy. Mrs May needs to hammer out some kind of compromise, and she has hinted about keeping Britain in some kind of customs arrangement. She needs to find a solution that will satisfy Brussels, her unionist colleagues, and the wider British public. And if nothing else, the last 2 years of Brexit negotiations have shown that it won't be easy. Now, we've done a few of these Brexit explainers so far. This is the third one, and there's going to be more coming. And if you have any ideas about what we should talk about, whether it's tariffs, which we've already done, and hard border, which you just heard about, let us know in the comments below. And like and subscribe to keep them coming.